Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us this evening, and apologize for the delay. Obviously, we're in the middle of a workshop, and we were able to finish up in time, but it put us a few minutes behind schedule for start. So tonight, in lieu of a prayer, we had one of our teammates, Alan Grant, who served on our pension board for 10 years, passed away unexpectedly on March 16th. So if you would please rise and join me in a moment of silence for Alan Grant. Thank you. Join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Doherty.
Here.
Councilmember Dumont. Here. Councilmember Golding. Here. Councilmember Hoffman. Here. Councilmember Nichols.
Here.
Councilmember Vogelstein.
Here.
Mayor Latham.
Here. And moving on to 19-048, please.
I move to approve the minutes of the council briefing held March 18th, 2019.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. 49, please.
I move to approve the minutes for the regular council meeting held March 18th, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By your action, motion carries. Announcements. Anybody have announcements? Ms. Hoffman.
I just wanted to comment that on April 10th, the Daughters of the American Revolution and some others will be installing a plaque over into our Veterans Memorial area. If you haven't noticed it before, it's conveniently located in between Carrabba's and Sneakers. At the corner there near the roundabout, but they'll be commemorating the anniversary of the SS Gulf America being torpedoed by a German U-boat off the shore of Jacksonville Beach in 1942, and it was actually on April 10th, 1942. I think, Mayor, will you be speaking there? So thank you, Jacksonville Beach, for supporting that effort to commemorate that event.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Golding.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say War Eagle.
Is that how it goes?
Yes. I'm an Auburn fan, and so I'm actually really pretty happy that my team is in the Final Four, so I just have to say that. And I also want to put out a special thanks to Beaches Energy, to Alan Putnam, Lamar Whitaker, Jameson Parker, Don Cuevas, and Matt Seeley. They gave me an amazing tour of Beaches Energy about a week or so ago, and I wanted to learn more about what Beaches Energy is doing and how the decisions that we make affect them, and the things that the important things that they're doing in our community. So I have to say a huge thank you to them and to the whole staff, but certainly to them because they did a great job giving me a tour. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, in case my fellow council members may not know this, Atlantic Beach did pass the sister resolution for the Penman Road improvements, and Neptune Beach is supposed to be considering that tonight. So I'm very grateful to Atlantic Beach for passing that resolution as well. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Nichols.
We had a dog fest event here at the beach yesterday at the Seawalk Pavilion. It went very well. Hopefully a lot of dogs and pets got adopted. Also, I believe it brings to the end our time of the year for the next 6 months that we're no longer allowed to have pets on the beach between 9 and 5. There was hundreds of pets on the beach yesterday. There was a large amount of people there, and I didn't see any problems with it. And I think it might be something we might want to reconsider, and maybe something similar to Atlantic Beach in the future. But it was a great event yesterday, and Pineapple's a little upset that he's not going to be on the beach here today, but he'll be all right.
Thank you, sir. Any others? Okay, moving on to courtesy of the floor. We've got two cards, William Alley and William Huff, that want to talk about the parking at the boat ramp. And before, you're welcome to come up and talk, but we have some updates, I think, first. Commander Smith, did you want to come forward and give us an update on that, please?
I'm happy to report we took some action on the boat ramp. As y'all know, for the last year or two, we've had problems with parking down there. Commander Crumley and I decided last week, because the ordinance is written with the City of Jacksonville ordinance on the signs, and we cannot enforce it. Commander Crumley and I this week decided just to do it ourselves, and we talked to City of Jacksonville. They allowed us to tape over temporarily their city ordinance, add our city ordinance in there, and we've been enforcing en masse there this entire week. We had civilian volunteers and parking enforcement officers out all week, and we're able to enforce improper parking for the City of Jacksonville Beach currently, and Jacksonville can come out and help us out when they're available.
Okay.
And I believe I talked to Mr. Huff and Mr. Alley personally this week.
Okay.
Did it seem to help the problem as far as having available parking out there, or
Yeah.
not yet, so people know about it?
Well, anecdotally, there's supposed to be people driving around looking for parking now and leaving the boat trailer spaces open. There's still some parking issues down there. I think that's part of this problem, part of the solution, but there's still overflow parking for the restaurant, which is the other part of the problem, which may manifest in illegally parked cars up and down the avenue. We haven't seen that yet. Anecdotally, everything does seem better, especially from the boat trailer parking and the boaters. That's the input we've got.
Was there any citations written?
We've written warning citations and regular citations, yes, sir. I don't have the amount, but I can get you that number.
You guys, let's not get away from the light panel.
Thank you.
If you have a question, please queue. Okay, thanks, GP.
Thank you.
Mr. Alley, would you like to come forward and speak? If you would give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Bill Haley. I live at 805 16th Avenue North here in Jacksonville Beach, and came here really just to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, Commander, for really addressing the concerns. Really amazed at that to have been heard and to see the action taken. So thank you, everyone, especially Commander. Personal phone calls are very, very appreciated. Thank you so much. And certainly have seen some enforcement down there. I mean, but the bottom line is there's still not enough parking for the amount of boats and trailers. So generally just here again to say thank you, very much appreciated. But then I wanted to stress again what I brought up at the last meeting, the fact that, you know, us taxpayers here at the beach, we pay taxes to the Florida Inland Navigation District every year. And historically we have received a fraction of this money. So I'm not sure if we have representation with the City of Jacksonville on their Waterways Commission, who, to my knowledge, is who is figuring out what projects to fund. But I really hope that we can get some representation on that Waterways Commission to push for the money that we need and that we deserve. We're actually on the Intracoastal Waterway, and unfortunately a lot of the money they're spending is up on the St. Johns River, and that's really, really unfortunate to think about. I think there's a continued source of grant money there. And that's really was my message, just to hope that we have some representation on that Waterways Committee to chase these funds that we're paying for, that we've historically gotten very, very little of. And just thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Earl, I appreciate it. Mr. Huff, would you like to come forward? If you would give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
William Huff, 1205 14th Street North. I too just wanted to come down. Me and Mr. Haley spoke about the same issue last time, and again here I want to thank Commander Smith and the Jacksonville Beach Police, Councilmember Golding and Hoffman for just having an ear for it, and to be able to get some action back on a specific issue and as quickly as it did. We really do appreciate that. It's very gratifying to know that you can have a voice and be heard. Like Mr. Haley said, it's a small part of what is a bigger problem, just in the amount of parking for the restaurant and for obviously the boats and trailers. And I don't know if it's a question that can be answered now, but I raised just the shorter term issue of, I know the lot to the north. And I've reached out to the owners of that lot just to kind of see their perspective, but I didn't know is there a city issue, or was there a reason they had invested in parking booth and they were making money? I mean, they were probably making, a couple, $2,000 or $3,000 a weekend on all the overflow trailer parking there, and then it just ceased. That booth sits there unused, and the lot sits there unused, and I didn't know if there's some way to come to a meeting of the minds between is it city, or if it's the owners, or if it's a combination of the two. Does anybody on this council know why that stopped from the owners? Was there anything from the city's perspective that forced the owners to stop? That if we could jump over that hurdle, the owners would be able to open it back up again, they could get the income, we could get the use of it, or if it was solely on the owner side instead of their own volition.
We'll look into that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Ken Marsh. Ken, if you come forward, give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Ken Marsh, 2011 Yale Avenue. Clearly, you guys are juggling a lot of balls, especially now with the fire department and boat thing. But just want to keep the downtown active. Apparently, I thought that the individual meetings regarding the downtown was supposed to happen in March with the collective meeting in April. Sounds like it was individual meetings in April with the collective meeting in May. Hopefully that's the case, and it's on everybody's radar to do that. With that being said, a couple of other things I just want to make sure people are aware of. We've had the 2 CRA meetings that were canceled in November, December of 2018, one that occurred in January, and then February and March have been canceled, so we only had one out of the last 5 months. And so the question is there an opportunity to reschedule these if people's schedules don't work or something comes up? Also keeping in mind that probably November, December of this year probably won't look good for the CRA as well. So just kind of want to put that out there. On things coming up, this is outside the downtown. The dune vegetation plantings tentatively scheduled March, April timeframe. We've missed March, so just want to make sure it's on folks' radar to put the vegetation plantings for the dunes in as soon as possible, hopefully in April. The longer we let that go, the more risk we have of losing that $15 million to sand, whatever it costs. So hopefully it's on the radar. Touching base on last week, I talked about or had pictures of some of the maintenance items that needed to be addressed downtown, just to make it more inviting for both the citizens and our guests. And I posted those pictures on the Coalition website, and somebody voiced a thought that if the maintenance issue is funding, is there opportunities to expand the paid parking in different hours and use those funds to perhaps beautify the city a little more than what we currently have it right now. So I wanted to make sure that that voice was put out there and noted to see if I don't even know if it's a funding issue or schedule issue or what the issue is on what causes those maintenance problems. I think with that and everything else you got going on, there's no reason for me to go forward with anything else. Have a great
Thanks,
night.
Ken.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to agenda item 19-050, please.
I move to award RFP number 03-1819 Insurance Consulting Services to the highest ranked respondent, Silver Insurance Consultants, LLC.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, Mr. Stefanopoulos.
Yes, every so often the city requires outside insurance consulting services to help us with a variety of insurance research and attainment for the city. Here to talk about that is HR Director Muse.
Good evening. The city issued RFP 03-1819 for insurance consulting services for an independent insurance consultant to perform a review of the city's existing insurance coverages and loss experience and advise the cities the types and levels of coverage needed and assist in the preparation and review of proposals. So the RFP was issued. The city requested the insurance consultant be completely independent. The consultant cannot receive any commissions or sell insurance. We had 2 respondents. The evaluation committee met that consisted of the HR director, myself, the CFO, and director of Parks and Recreation. Cyber insurance consultants were ranked number 1, and we're requesting tonight that the city council issue the RFP to them.
Thank you, ma'am. Any comments or questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Doherty,
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes, and number 51, please.
Let me try to read this one correctly. I move that we approve the attached final plat for replat of lots 9 and 10, block 103, Pablo Beach South, supporting a 4-unit townhouse residential subdivision, parentheses 223 11th Avenue South.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, Mr. Stefopoulos.
Yes, the city has a requirement for platting of property when it subdivides or consolidates. I'm here to talk about this particular one. Is Heather Ireland from the Planning Division.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Heather Ireland, Planning and Development Department. I think we have a picture of the plat, perhaps. It is a 4-unit fee simple townhouse development. Got stretched out a little bit there. It's gone through both conditional use approval through the Planning Commission and concept plat approval, development plan approval this past year, and the building permit was, I believe, just approved today. So they should be breaking ground shortly. The reason they need your approval is to fee simple subdivide these 2 original lots into the 4 new proposed lots, as you see here, so that they can sell them that way. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Mr. Vogelsang?
Were there any variances granted to subdivide it into 4 lots?
No, sir, no more needed.
Thank you.
That was my question as well. Good. Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Dumont,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Yes.
Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Councilmember Doherty,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes, and item 52, please.
Move that we authorize out-of-scope modification to the A1A water main replacement contract with Mayor Holmes for the replacement of water lines on 10th Avenue North between A1A and 2nd Street North.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, Mr. Stefopoulos.
The city's Public Works Department is trying to update certain potable water lines within the city and replace them with more reliable materials going forward. This is an opportunity for the Public Works Department to get a portion of that work done through this particular contract. I'm here to speak about it as Public Works Director Dave Miller.
Dave Miller, Public Works Department, Jax Beach. Each year, we come up with a plan to replace water and sewer lines throughout the city, some of the ones that are in the worst shape. We kind of refer to it this year as the Phase F project for the FY19 year. There's about 12 different areas that are part of that project, as in the budget for FY19 for about $500,000. One portion of that line is actually kind of separate from the rest of the area that we'll be working, and that line happens to connect to the new water main that we just put in on A1A with Mayor Holmes. Mayor Holmes is still working in the area, and our desire is to have them do this as an out-of-scope modification of the contract so that we only have one contractor working in the area. It's an FDOT right away where they have to do the connection. We also don't want somebody else, a different contractor coming in to connect to the new line that was put in by Mayor Holmes, because then we could potentially have issues with warranty and connection problems later on. And it was the Mayor project was a competitively bid project. They're using their unit prices that they've used for the entire project, so we're getting a good price on the work. So the price for this modification would be $48,670. We're asking for 10% contingency, so for a total amount of $53,000. Based on the water lines we've seen up in that area already, I can say that we probably will need that contingency because those lines are in pretty bad shape up there.
Thank you, sir.
There's a map of the area we're working. Yellow line is the whole A1A replacement we're doing with Mayor Holmes, and the blue section is where we're doing it's a 2-inch water main replacement.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
I didn't have that last slide in my book, so it threw me off. Okay, any questions or concerns from the council? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoffman. Yes. Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Councilmember Doherty,
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes, Madam Clerk, please read resolution number 2030-2019 by title only, please.
A resolution providing for the sale of surplus property online.
Mr. Stavropoulos.
Usually at least once a year, the city of Jacks Beach needs to dispose of its surplus equipment and materials. We do this through an auctioning process, and here to talk a little bit about that is Luis Flores from Procurement.
Louis Flores, Property Procurement. So usually in the years past, we used to go out online once a year to sell our surplus items. What we're trying to do now is go out more frequently to try and maximize the amount of money that we get back in return for the city. And it also alleviates some of the stress that we have due to space constraints in the warehouse. So our goal is to probably come to you quarterly, and so that way we can try and see, the longer the vehicles sit out in the weather, the more they deteriorate. We found that, if we can get them in and get them turned around very quickly, we usually maximize the profits.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Anybody from the council? Mr. Vogelsang?
Does the ordinance require this to come before the council?
It currently does. That is one of the things that we're going to be in discussion to try and see if we can amend that, since we're trying to be some more aggressive in getting these items out.
It's been more than frequently lately, so I was going to say, in order for it to not have to come before us, because it's really a formality just to get here, so
Yes,
if it's
sir.
something we can change, I think that'd be a good change.
That would be ideal.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Actually, didn't
Oh,
have a
wait,
motion.
we didn't do a motion. Thank you, Ms. Hoffman.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2030-2019, providing for the sale of surplus property online.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hoffman. Yes. Councilmember Nichols,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogelsang,
Yes.
Councilmember Doherty,
Yes.
Councilmember Dumont,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Latham.
Yes, and we're not going to adjourn yet. We're going to give our city manager an opportunity to refocus on thank you, citizens' comments.
Yes, just a summary to make sure we're all on the same page. Mr. Ailey and Mr. Huff came here and thanked us for the work that the police department has done with regard to enforcement of parking out at the boat ramp, the McHugh boat ramp. We did have Mr. Ailey ask us, again, I think this is the second time he's brought up the fact that some funding is available through the Inland Navigable Waters, we'll look up the acronym for it. It's one of those things where I think we'd probably be best served to have a project before we pursue funds, because if you have to know what you're doing with the money. But with that being said, I know one of the things that Ms. Nelson and I have talked about is potentially making contact with Mr. Taylor over there with regards to his property to see if that's something we can work with him in partnership to free up some additional parking. So we will send the standard thank you letters to Mr. Haley and Mr. Huff. And with Mr. Marsh, he wanted us to make sure that we kept the downtown at the forefront of the thought process, and wants us to make sure that the CRA meetings are occurring. It seems like there's been some cancellations lately, and also wants to check on the vegetation planting for the dune renourishment. I think that's something that I did reply back to one of the council members with some time ago about the CO plate, and I can't remember what the date was, but we can go back and pull that up and get it to all the council members. I want to say it was June that the COs were being planted, April through June, somewhere in that.
No, it's March and April.
March and April.
It was early, before it got too hot, and then the roots would be able to take through.
That's right. So we'll send a thank you letter to all three of these, and we'll follow up with Mr. Taylor to see what we can do to enhance some parking out there. May take a little bit of time, maybe not in time for the season, but we'll see what we can do.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Golden?
Mr. Marsh brought up the fact, and I think he's right, because we met with the CRA in February, and we talked about this in the briefing, and so it does sound like we were actually due to meet with the CRA again in April, but, so we need to address that, but I know we have a lot on our plate
right now, so I wanted to put that out there.
We'll take a look at the schedule, see if we can.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the schedule. Do you all want to have a pre-meeting before you meet with the CRA to talk CRA topics? Or do you want to just jump right back into the meeting with the CRA? I think it would be beneficial if the 7 of you were on the same page with regard to your expectations of the CRA going forward.
I found our last meeting with the CRA rather disappointing, just because we had no goal. And we're all over the place. So we have to decide why we're meeting with them, and we can actually make that meeting productive instead of wasting 60 minutes kind of going around in circles. I got feedback from people asking how I thought the meeting was, and I actually said it was like the meeting I just got out of, because I just got out of a 2-hour meeting that just kind of went around in circles. I'm like, it's just kind of like that. And so we really have to get on the same page to find out what it is we are trying to accomplish, what is the goal of this meeting, and then aim for that goal instead of just start talking about all of these ancillary things.
Thank you. Ms. Golden?
Yeah, I do think it's important that we as a council get together and talk before we meet with the CRA again. I think that's something that we had discussed we were going to do, but we haven't. So I think we do need to look at that.
But you're right, we were supposed to meet in April with the CRA.
Right.
I didn't have a date because we didn't agree on one. I was thinking about that was going to come up. So if we wanted to schedule a meeting before a potential CRA meeting, I mean, the only thing with scheduling more stuff is it pushes everything back more. So I agree, we do need to get on the same page, but I still would like to meet with them in April and try and get get this thing jump started, because we could have meetings about meetings for the next 6 months. I think the point was that we need to communicate with them better, and for that we need to be on the same page. So I don't know if you want to talk about a date for a meeting between us, and then see if the CRA are available to meet in April.
Go ahead, Mr. Stefopoulos.
I believe at our next scheduled briefing, 2 weeks from now on the 15th, we had some time blocked out in that session for a continuation of fire department if necessary. We could start that meeting a little bit earlier and try to tackle the topic of CRA, and then look to have a CRA meeting the last week of April with the CRA. Would that work into your schedule?
Here we go. Yeah.
Last week,
Yes.
Depends on the day.
And I think we'd have to check with the CRA members as well to see if they had that available. While we're checking for that date, would you all like at the next briefing to reserve some time to talk about CRA coordination to establish what your goals are?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would ask, as we're scheduling that next meeting, that we use like the doodle poll or something like that, so that we don't have to do, well, so-and-so can't go to the meeting, so we can't do that date, because it's not really equitable across this many people to do it that way. And I also want to say, and I agree that we did go round and round a lot. It was our first time meeting as that group, so I think there was an expectation of that, but they were not provided with the full agenda that this body had come up with. They were only provided with the main topic points without the sub-bullets. So I think it would have stayed a little more on track if we had provided that. So hopefully we can rectify that at the next meeting.
That's something you coordinate with Mr. Mann. Mr. Monk?
Thank you. Okay, so I just want to make sure we have this. April's going to have a lot of meetings. So we have this meeting, we have a meeting next Monday, a meeting after that, meeting with a briefing, and then another meeting with the CRA. I just want to make sure so should we be looking at increasing the number of times that we meet a month? Instead of trying to squeeze everything in 50 minutes before this meeting, should we start thinking maybe we need to add another meeting, not a council meeting, but a council workshop? Because we need the business of the city to still go for the meetings every other week, but we might just need to add more meeting times for workshops and discussions.
Mr. Stefopoulos?
You recall at our last briefing, we still didn't wrap up the conversation on communication. And that was one of the things that I was going to bring up, is that based on the based on the desires of this council and what I'm seeing as a need for expanded communication, I'm not sure that 2 briefings a month occurring at the hour before the council meetings is adequate time for this body to work together. I don't know that this is the place to have that, the place or time to have that conversation, but that was an ultimate suggestion that I was going to be working to, is that potentially the second Monday of the month be reserved specifically as a workshop or a briefing session where there can be a more concentrated effort on a monthly basis, and that would also expand it to 3 briefings per month. But again, I don't know if that's, I don't want to have that conversation from the dais in the middle of the meeting, but I think that that's something that the council should maybe be thinking about in the back of their head at this point in time.
I have a technical question for you.
You haven't been recognized, Mr. Martin, Mr. Vogelson.
I mean, I'm okay with meeting, each of our council meeting days are shot for me anyway, so meeting at 6 is pointless. It's fine, but I'd rather just meet at 5 and go from 5 to 8 at night than just take aside another day and another set of hours. If we can take 2 hours before, we can get a lot done. It's a lot harder to get everybody in, get everybody settled in an hour anyway. So I would rather just start moving our meetings up because I come here from work anyway. So it's just to expand the time that we're here, which I appreciate and we get more done, would be my suggestion.
Yeah, Mr. Monk?
Like I said, this is a technical question. When Mike signed his contract, you said that, we said, you all said, minus 3 of us, that it would be direction within, I think, 6 months, 5 months, 6 months, 6 months. And we're running out of time. We missed a month of a CRA meeting and we are running out of time to give him direction on anything. That's why we really need to get this stuff going. We have to get on the same page. It's not just the CRAs, not just fire. There's a whole city worth of stuff to do. And we really have to figure out what direction we want to go in so we can figure out what direction to start implementing. And I don't know if that's doing more like a retreat, a strategy session, but we really have to get on the same page. We're running out of months.
So another meeting?
Story of my life.
Okay.
That's a good point. I mean, yeah. So I hear what you're saying. I hear what Phil says. I would be more open to doing longer hours on our scheduled, council days because, most of us are ready for that. We have it scheduled, so, and there is a lot to talk about. So I would prefer to just, prolong those days as opposed to adding things to a calendar because we all have different things going on and sometimes it's hard to coordinate. Whereas we all know we're going to be here for our council meetings. So, and that's just what I think about. I think it's better to talk down either before or after. I mean, people can't get here before 5, maybe we could do it after the meeting.
Let me just, how many people here would be amenable to a 2-hour pre-meeting instead of doing it 3 days a week, and 3 days a month? Looks like we've got a pretty 6 out of 7. Pardon me?
Depends on the week.
It's first and third Monday.
Right,
It's just
but
like
it
we.
depends on, my schedule switches.
Okay, Ms. Golden?
My only comment is community accessibility to the meetings and 5 o'clock I think can be difficult for people to get to. That's my only comment.
Okay. You all done, Mr. Jordan?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Stefopoulos.
It sounds like from what I'm hearing, there would at least be a consensus to move the meeting up by a half hour for the briefing, and starting at 5:30 and go 5:30 to 7. Is that fair to say?
Why don't we start with that, and if we need to, we can start earlier. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, anybody else got anything to go over? This meeting's adjourned. Have a great night.
Yeah.